Hello and welcome to Big Picture. I am Vishal Dahiya, and today we're going to talk about the groundwater extraction norms. Now, with almost around 1/6 of the assessed groundwater units in the country facing over-exploitation, the central government has come out with revised guidelines for usage of groundwater or extraction of groundwater. We'll try and understand what exactly these guidelines say and how it will impact the stakeholders as well as the situation of groundwater in the country. And joining us for more on this is a distinguished panel of guests. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with Dr. Shamal Kumar Sarkar. He is Senior Director with Natural Resources and Climate at TERI. We also have with us Mr. Subodh Yadav, Joint Secretary in the Department of Water Resources, where the guidelines have been framed, and Mr. A.K. Bhattacharya, the Editorial Director of Business Standard, is also with us. Welcome all of you gentlemen to Rajya Sabha TV. Let me begin with you, Mr. Subodh, and let's start by talking about some highlights of these guidelines. If you could just take us through the main points as far as these new guidelines are concerned.
So as you are aware, Government of India has come out with these groundwater extraction guidelines. And these are quite innovative in nature because never we have tried to have such kind of guidelines as far as the groundwater extraction is concerned. And in a way, these guidelines facilitate sustainable development of groundwater. These guidelines are not going to restrict the extraction of groundwater. It is going to facilitate in a particular manner. If I come to the point directly, the main feature, if I can tell you, first of all, we have thought of these guidelines are pan-India applicability, which was never there earlier. Of course, we have come out with the exemptions also for number of categories, for example, agriculture activities, even individual drinking water purposes, families and all, projects in the rural areas, armed forces, police establishment and all. And along with that micro and small industries which have the groundwater draw less than 10 meter cube per day. Even they are also exempted as far as these guidelines are concerned.
Okay.
And first time we have extended these guidelines to even the drilling rigs. So now all the owners of drilling rigs, they need to register themselves, which was not the case as of now. And similarly, first time we have come out with the restoration and abstraction charges also. So whichever industry, the way they would be extracting the groundwater, in case they are extracting groundwater in the overexploited areas, there would be groundwater restoration charges. And for other kind of areas, critical, semi-critical, and the safe areas, there would be groundwater abstraction charges.
Okay.
This was not the case earlier. And similarly, first time we have gone into the domain of bulk water supply. So even the bulk water supply also we have thought to regulate through these guidelines, which was not the case earlier. As far as the saline groundwater is concerned, those have been exempted because we need to have saline groundwater extracted as much as possible. Along with that, we have come out with the environmental compensation also, first time, which is the part of guidelines. We have come out with the penalties also, which were not there earlier. So in a way, these are some of the very important features as far as the guidelines are concerned.
Okay. Okay. So it takes into consideration all aspects, and specifically all stakeholders, be it industry, or the domestic users as well. We'll go into the details, and specifically we'll obviously, come back to you and talk about the new norms about abstraction and restoration charges as well. But before that, let me bring in Dr. Sarkar here. Dr. Sarkar, your initial views on these norms and, the purpose which specifically these norms have been brought in for.
I think this is a novel scheme brought out by the Government of India, especially in the context of the fact that the total available water resources is around 1,123 billion cubic meter total. Out of that, around 690 billion cubic meter surface water and the remaining are the groundwater. Now, if you look at the groundwater demand, almost 80% are in the agricultural sector. Around 15% in the industrial sector, around 10% will be around the domestic sector.
Mhm.
Now, these guidelines have been made applicable only in the commercial sector, agricultural, industrial sector, and the domestic sector. It has not made applicable to the agricultural sector as these guidelines brought out to us.
Okay.
Now, these guidelines has given many important salient features, but two important things I think we could have improved. One is the fact that how to make the fact that the agricultural water use of the groundwater is reduced to the
Okay.
optimum level. The guideline talks about review of the pricing policy. It talks about crop rotation. It talks about diversification of the crops. But the actual quantum of the water used in the agricultural sector has been more or less not touched by these guidelines.
Mhm.
Similarly, the penalties have been imposed, have been suggested, but the incentives. Suppose if the industry uses less water compared to the targeted one, can there be given an incentive? So the incentive scheme have also not been considered. So these are some of the features which probably we can improve the guidelines in the subsequent years.
Okay. 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 Quite significant point there being made by Dr. Sarkar, and I'd like to bring in Mr. Sudhir again. But before that, Mr. Bhattacharya, if I could have initial comments from you on the way these guidelines are likely to impact the industry, because this also fills in that void, the regulatory void which was there after the previous guidelines were struck down by the NGT somewhere in January 2019.
Well, you're right. This will impact the industry, particularly the mining sector. But I think what Mr. Sarkar pointed out is very, very important. He talked about 80%. My figures tells me that 90% of groundwater is used for irrigation purposes. Now, mostly irrigation is for agriculture reasons. Now, if 90% is for irrigation, and out of which the bulk of it is for agriculture, and if agriculture is kept out of it, and unless you have accompanying policies to disincentivize cultivation of water guzzling crops, which only probably the state of Haryana right now is taken some policies to disincentivize growing of paddy, which is a highly water guzzling crop, or sugarcane. We grow in plenty and we don't realize that what harm it does by taking water out of the ground level and using it for agriculture. So if we do not focus on agriculture, my sense is that we would have seen a very great initiative, welcome initiative, but its impact will be very, very minimal. But to start with, industry will be impacted, and industry will have to pay the extraction charges. If you do not take an NOC, and that NOC will be valid for 5 years, so it is not that you have to run after the government every now and then, but once you take an NOC, you are good for 5 years. So there are many good things about it. Even the 10% of consumption of groundwater you are tackling, particularly in the mining sector. But I will just add one more point, with which you can go to Mr. Yadav, is apart from the agriculture point, is that there is an excellent proposal in the scheme on the extraction and charges. If these charges come into the Consolidated Fund of India, we all know how government funds are fungible. In a sense, if they come to one ministry, that money can be used by any other ministry. So ideally, if extraction charges are to be recovered from the users of groundwater, ideally that should go into some sort of a fund which cannot be touched by the Consolidated Fund of India, maybe in a public account, whether the fund, so that that money is used precisely and specifically for restoration of the water system and making sure that water is available. Exploitation of groundwater has been huge. There are about 6 or 7 states, mostly in the northern states, and some states in south, which is Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, and Delhi, Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, and Western UP. Now, these are the states which have exploited and overexploited the groundwater. So you need to have a more targeted policy. So I would imagine, even though it is an all-India policy, it will be essentially be impacting industries in these 8-9 states. So
Okay.
I will stop there and
Definitely.
sort of let Mr. Yadav
I'd like to,
respond.
those are very important points, and I'd like to bring in Mr. Subodh here on these 2 points, and let us take them one by one, Mr. Yadav. Let's first talk about the agriculture sector, as both the other panelists are pointing out, and this is in fact based on data that almost 80 to 90% of the groundwater extraction is for use in agriculture, wherein these guidelines seemingly are not, focusing on that part. That's what the panelists say, that these guidelines make some suggestions in terms of, taking away the subsidy, the electricity subsidy in the agriculture sector. Is that the only solution, or is your department thinking on perhaps a revision again, keeping in mind the agriculture sector specifically?
So let me give a small background as far as the agriculture sector is concerned. As we know, agriculture sector is the backbone of Indian economy. Now, suppose in case, let me take from a different view, different angle. Suppose in case, let us think about regulating the groundwater extraction as far as the agriculture is concerned. Now, the problem comes, we are not having the farmers who are of equal status in terms of land holding is concerned. Now, the problem here is that roughly, if I say, around 12% of medium and big farmers are there, and around most of the wells, roughly 88%, 88 to 89% wells are being owned by marginal, small, or semi-medium kind of farmers.
Okay.
Now, any kind of a tweaking, as far as the ground extraction is concerned, it will affect that 88 or 89% of these marginal, small, or semi-medium kind of farmers. Actually, of course, it looks quite interesting unless and until, and the data also says, because groundwater utilization is concerned, proportionately, if we see that point is correct, that the major chunk is going for the agriculture. But fact of the matter is that we need to have a balanced kind of a thing somewhere. So as an initial step, perhaps we have tried to tweak in perhaps more suggestive kind of measures to the state. Because as we know, water is something which is a state domain kind of, and we cannot come out immediately unless and until a suitable environment is made to literally understand the purpose of these guidelines. So basically what the point we have proposed here, we are trying to build up a kind of environment through the guidelines, and agriculture sector proposal, whatever we have said, basically in tune with that.
Okay. And what about the abstraction and restoration charges as well, Mr. Yadav, in terms of the suggestion coming in from Mr. Bhattacharya there, that what's the mechanism to ensure that it is utilized, this money is utilized for the restoration of groundwater itself?
So, yeah, let me give again a small background here also. See, as of now, we never had the charges for water extraction. We had the charges for the no objection certificates, but we never had the charges. Now, the no objection charges which we used to collect used to go to the Bharat Kosh as of now. Now, here, again, in the present situation, initially we are thinking of abstraction and the restoration charges will go to the Bharat Kosh. But simultaneously, we are working out a kind of arrangement where whatever would be the charges collected should be in a situation to utilize by the groundwater, by the department, and which can be used again in water, which can be used for the water restoration activities, groundwater recharge activities.
Okay, okay. Dr. Sarkar, do you agree with what Mr. Yadav is pointing out specifically with respect to the use of groundwater or groundwater extraction in the agriculture sector? That if at all there is much of a tinkering there, it will affect the small and marginal farmers who ultimately form that 80 to 90% of the chunk of use of groundwater for agriculture, and that is why go slow perhaps there, and meanwhile, sort of regulate the industry in the mining sector and the large domestic users as well, the housing societies?
I think we have to look into this entire thing from the macro level, in the sense that these guidelines have touched some of the aspects of improvement in the agricultural sector. For example, they talked of the review of the electricity policy, they talked about crop diversification, they talked about crop rotation, etc. The reason is that if you look the agricultural sector in details, the water use efficiency is very low compared to the other countries, compared to the developed countries.
Mm-hmm.
And this fact is because of the incidents. We know that, for example, in the Punjab and Haryana, the paddies which are the water guzzling crops are being introduced, are being used in a big way. So this water use efficiency in agricultural sector, if it is touched in a big way, it will have a great impact, like this policy we will have.
Mm-hmm.
For example, we have the National Water Mission, where the 20% water use efficiency has been suggested, but it has not been implemented in a big way in the agricultural sector, and also in the other sector like the industrial sector, and also in the domestic sector.
Okay.
So if this agricultural water use efficiency are used, measures are developed, measures are implemented, it will have a big impact on the sector.
Okay.
I fully agree with the fact that I have a mixed agreement with the fact that if you touch agriculture, the marginal and the small farmers will be affected. It is true, but with the little amount of water, you can produce a higher productivity. In India, there are examples where using the micro irrigation, you can use the higher productivity with a lesser amount of water.
Okay.
With higher productivity, higher profit, higher energy use, less energy use, etc., etc. So I think with low uses of water, you can have a higher production in our country in the agricultural sector, provided we take sufficient agricultural steps in the country.
Okay.
So it is not only the groundwater. I think because the agriculture sector uses groundwater 80 to 90%, and this groundwater, if you use less water for more production, it will have a conservation of water and good for the country.
Okay, that clearly seems to point out to that aspect, Mr. Bhattacharya, and I'd like to bring you in here that this aspect of the groundwater extraction policy will need to be looked at in a holistic perspective. Just tweaking with the groundwater extraction norms for the agriculture sector might not be enough, as both Mr. Subodh and Dr. Sarkar is pointing out. The improvements will have to be made in the way the crop patterns are, they are diversifying them. Also, the subsidy for electricity. So all these aspects will have to be looked at. It's just one aspect of groundwater extraction norms might not do the trick.
Surely, you have to have a holistic approach to the whole thing. And you also have to recognize that the country is going through tectonic changes as far as the agricultural laws are concerned. You have a situation where just last year you had the income transfer scheme introduced initially for the marginal farmers and then extended to all farmers. Then you have the 3 agricultural laws that is actually freeing up the farmer to decide on where to sell their produce. Now, in my view, and a new proposal on the ground is how the fertilizer subsidy will be actually be abolished, and instead of that, there will be a direct benefit transfer scheme will be introduced to give a lump sum money to each farmer depending on his use of fertilizers.
Okay.
So we have to recognize that a lot of changes are happening in Indian agriculture. And at this point in time, the use of water will always remain inefficient. Productivity level of water usage will always be very low as long as water is made available free. This is the golden rule in economics and behavioral economics. If I get something free, then I will not really bother how I am using it. So it will be not a bad idea that, along with imposing some minor charges so that the farmer realizes that if he has to use it, he has to pay something. But that payment can be reimbursed to him through direct benefit transfer schemes and everything if the farmer has to be taken care of. So my broad point is that you cannot shy away from the fact that in light of the tectonic changes that are being brought about in the Indian agriculture, a time has come where the water availability should also be priced. And if it has to be priced, then your conservation of groundwater, the task will become easier, and you will be able to include agriculture within this excellent policy of abstraction and restoration policy for groundwater.
Okay, indeed, there it is. As far as agriculture sector is concerned, a clear holistic approach will have to work there. Let me bring in Mr. Yadav again for one final concluding comment. Mr. Yadav, one aspect of this policy, specifically if you look at the residential societies in urban areas, they're also, a stakeholder here in terms of consumer of groundwater, extracted groundwater there. So what does the policy say as far as these large housing societies are concerned?
Before coming to your point directly, I just thought in the backdrop of the discussion, certain clarities let me put up here so that the issue is straightforward. Now, we are talking about the holistic approach here. Let me tell you, there are certain things which are not the part of these guidelines, but those initiatives and actions are being taken by the department, Government of India, and in some of the cases, even by the state government also.
Okay.
Now, if you see our National Water Policy 2012, of course, we are coming out again with a modified version of National Water Policy, but even if we take our National Water Policy 2012, it basically talks about rainwater harvesting and conservation of water and use of rain, direct use of rainfall. Now that is the approach and that is the philosophy which is there in the National Water Policy 2012. And subsequently, there are various actions which have been taken by the Government of India, which, if you allow me to say some of the important points, I will just mention because it will give you a better perspective to understand, because a lot of things are not there in the these groundwater guidelines.
Definitely. Please continue, Mr.
Yadav. Which are being taken care of separately. So, for example, we have circulated model bill to all states and union territories to enable them and to enact suitable groundwater legislation. And on the basis of those model bill which we have circulated, 18 states have come out with their groundwater legislations. And they are regulating groundwater as per those guidelines which they have framed on the basis of model bill which we have circulated.
Okay.
Other than the Central Groundwater Authority, basically, which has been created to ensure the implementation of these guidelines, we have come out with the master plan for artificial recharge of groundwater. Now, we had a master plan in 2013. Now we have again come out with a fresh master plan which talks about, which basically maps the entire country in terms of groundwater availability and what kind of recharge structure should be taken care of as far as those districts, villages and areas are concerned.
Okay.
Now that is a parallel approach which is being taken care of simultaneously, which of course has no mention as far as, because guideline is only limited to the extraction purposes. That's how these things are not part of that. Then along with that, we have even the NAQUIM program, which is the National Aquifer Mapping and the Management Program. Now, aquifer mapping is basically a kind of, it's a technical thing, but it's the aim to delineate the aquifer disposition and understand the groundwater, the way the groundwater is there underground.
Okay.
So basically, this kind of aquifer management plan will help us in understanding the groundwater locally and will help us in having a groundwater management plan village-wise, or you can say block-wise kind of a thing. And once those groundwater management plans are there, the local people can decide, would be knowing what is the groundwater availability and how that groundwater can be utilized for different kind of crops, or which kind of a crop the groundwater is available or not. So these kind of decisions they can take once this mapping is complete. Now these are the initiatives we have taken separately. And in addition to that, of course, if you talk about the structures in terms of the water recharge activities are to be taken. Now, huge amount of structures have been created under the MNREGA, under the PM-KSY arrangement, also under the Integrated Watershed Development Program. So these are certain things which in a way are providing lot of different kind of water recharge structures as per the local areas are concerned.
Okay.
Now, in addition to this further, one point which I would like to make here is that even the housing and urban department, they have also, on our insistence, they have also circulated a model guidelines for rainwater harvesting structure.
Okay.
So how the urban areas and the development, the way is taking place, how they need to have the rainwater structures, rooftop rainwater structures and all. Now those are certain things which are parallelly being done.
Okay.
And if you allow me just one point, we have come out with a scheme, novel scheme, Atal Bhujal scheme, which is a very different kind of a scheme, which is targeting the groundwater revival. Now this is it's more of a demand-based kind of course, it's a mix of a demand and supply-based initiative, more of a demand-based. Now these are certain initiatives which are not, we have disclosed here, but those are being parallelly taken care of.
Okay, definitely. That is what is meant when, all of us were talking about, specifically Mr. Bhattacharya was referring to the holistic approach as far as the agriculture sector is concerned. Thank you so much, Mr. Subodh Yadav, Mr. Bhattacharya, as well as Dr. Sarkar, for sharing your views on this very important aspect. There it is, all about the new revised norms as far as groundwater extraction is concerned, which is aimed at not only facilitating the use of groundwater, but also conservation of groundwater. We'll come back again tomorrow with a different topic. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.